Hello, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Shelly Reichart. I'm a first grade teacher at Woodland Elementary, and for the 2020-21 school year, I was the virtual first grade teacher in our building. I also had the opportunity to host students from other elementary schools, first graders, within TSC, so that was kind of fun too. I want to talk to you today about things that I did to keep myself organized throughout the course of the school year. Virtual teaching was very new to me, as I'm sure it was to other virtual teachers. So we kind of had to pave our own way as we made it through the school year. And so these are some things that I did to help keep me organized, keep my class organized, and keep my families organized, which was super important to me. So I'm going to share with you today ways that I used Google Classroom, Google Keep, and Classroom Dojo. I want to start with Google Classroom. Google Classroom is something that we're all familiar with. We've all been required to use it this year. I had used Google Classroom in the past, but not to the extent that all of us were required to use it this year. So there are a lot of things that I've learned along the way. I also want to say in no way, shape, or form am I proclaiming to be an expert, because I promise you, I am not. I am not an expert. These are just things that I've learned and things that have helped me and things I'll continue to use and do as I continue through my teaching career. So I want to start here with Google Classroom, and I want to start on the stream page. This is the very first page that students will come to when they log into their Google Classroom account. On this page, this is where you might choose to put notices, where you might choose to put announcements. And when I first started, I had comments open. I had that students could post and comment. And I was finding that families and students were posting and commenting so much that my stream page became very unorganized, very jumbled. Not only were the posts and comments on my stream page, but I also had notifications coming on my stream page. Assignments were being posted on here. Comments were being posted on here. My announcements were being posted on here, and it just became super overwhelming. So I chose to change the settings within my Google Classroom. Let me show you how to do that if you're not sure. On your stream page, you have a little gear up here. Go ahead and click on it, and then you can come right here. There's a couple options for your Google Stream page. When you click this, you can choose to have students post and comment, students only comment, or only teachers can post and comment. I chose to have it as only teachers can post and comment, and that would keep my stream page content down to a minimum. If parents want to contact me, then we've kind of taken care of that through Classroom Dojo, which I'll talk to you about a little bit later. I also chose to hide any notifications on my stream page. This is where you would get a notification if an assignment was coming due, if an assignment was posted. I just chose to keep my stream page super streamlined to only have very few things on there. This is May 4th as I'm recording this video, and as of this day, we only have 2 posts on our stream page, and they are our 2 Google Meet links. One is the Google Meet link for my regular class. The other Google Meet link is for Miss Arnold, who is a Title I teacher in our building. She also met daily with groups of kids for reading. It was super nice once everything, all the chaos was lifted from the stream page. And we did we did handle those notifications and comments in a different way, and this became much more manageable, not only for me, but for families that were looking at the stream page. It was a lot better once we kind of streamlined it. When we look at the classwork page, the first thing I want to point out to you is my very small library of video tutorials. This became invaluable throughout the year. My kids, of course, were not here with me, so I couldn't sit with them and show them step by step how to get to an app and use it, how to turn in assignments on Google Classroom, how to do any of those things. I decided that I would make a small library of video tutorials that would show students and families how to use different things step by step. Like I said, this became an invaluable part of our school year because if families had a question, I could say, go to the EPIC video tutorial. It shows you exactly how to get on. Our password is there. And, lots of families were able to successfully follow those directions and do anything that I was asking them to do. The next part of my Google Classroom classwork tab I want to talk to you about is how I arranged my topics. All of the topics are listed here on the left-hand side, and if you look, there are a lot of them, and there's a reason for that. First of all, I'm sharing my Google Classroom page with all of the other members of my first grade team. As the year started and we had more and more students being excused to be on quarantine, it became important to me to have things ready for my team to use if they wanted to use them. I felt like they were having added pressure to get things on Google Classroom for those students. So I chose to have them join my Google Classroom, and then they could just use the content that I've posted if it became a situation where they needed something right away. And actually, it's worked out so well. So as we look through our assignments, I do want to let you know that I work a week ahead of where my team is. And it's for that reason, so that my team could have something they could get to if they needed it for students who would be out for a longer period of time. So by me working a week ahead, all of that was readily available, and they really didn't have to worry about anything but posting those assignments if they chose to use them. So I was glad that it was available to them, and I'm glad that it was there for them to use. As we click through or scroll through, I arranged my Google Classroom in a way that I would have taught throughout the day. Of course, we start each day by taking attendance. That was the first thing in our Google Classroom. Then we would move on to word work, vocabulary, and then our reading block. So that's how I arranged the first part of my day in Google Classroom. Miss Arnold also had a topic in Google Classroom so she could post books and assignments that she had done with kids in her Title I Google Meet. They always knew that they could go to our classrooms, Google Classroom, and find whatever they needed, and they wouldn't have to join Miss Arnold's Google Classroom to find whatever they needed from her, if that makes sense. So Miss Arnold and I agreed that it was easier to streamline it all into one, and it's actually worked out pretty well. So the kids know to come here to look for anything that they might have done within her Title I reading group. And then, of course, we followed it up with our assignments for a reading block, then math, then writing, then science and social studies. Then you'll notice after science and social studies, I have topics that are the weeks of the year, or the weeks of the school year, the weeks that we were here. The reason I do that is because once we've completed an assignment, once it's all done, it's been graded, it's been returned, I take that assignment. So again, I say this is May the 4th. So I'm going to edit this assignment and I'm going to move it to the week that we're in. So tomorrow, once attendance has been recorded, I will move this attendance assignment into the week of May 3rd through 7th. The reason I do that is because it makes my workspace, and I refer to my content topics as my workspace. It keeps my workspace cleaned up, and then all of those assignments are not constantly in the space where I'm posting new things, and then all of the old things that we've done are already there. It makes it easier for me to find different things that I need. It also makes it easier for my team to find different things that they need to post for students who might be on quarantine. So it actually works out very well. Another thing that I enjoyed about Google Classroom, and another thing that kept me organized, is that every day I would come to school, I would do attendance, make sure that was recorded, and then I would grade immediately the assignments that were turned in from the day before. When those assignments are turned in, I would move them to the next topic, but I want to show you how to get to different things if a student has turned in a late assignment, or you can find if a student is missing a particular assignment. So I'm going to click on to review, and then I'm going to go here to reviewed. Here are some assignments that are due today. So we're still working on those. I'm going to click to assignments that are reviewed. That means that I've already looked at these assignments and I've already returned them. And then I've already marked them. If you go under the To Review tab, you can mark them as review. I would suggest that you do that. So you can see that those assignments under the Reviewed tab are all separated by their due date. Now this makes it so easy to go back and find a particular assignment. It was easy for me because all of those due dates were listed in my gradebook, so I could look at my gradebook, come to the due date, and find exactly what I needed. I can look on here and I can see that I have one assignment that's been turned in late, 2 students have still not done the assignment, and 16 students, their assignments have been graded and returned. I am not going to click on these. I want to maintain the privacy of those students that are in my class. But you could click on these and then their assignment would pop up. You could see what they have done, grade it, and then return it. So it was easy to find, especially if kids were sick and didn't get an assignment done the day that it was due. For whatever reason, if you needed to come back and check their work after the due date, this made it so much easier to find it, grade it, and return it. You didn't have to go back to your Google Classroom page. Let's just go back there to go to your classwork page, and then you didn't have to sift through all the weeks. If I clicked on one of the weeks, then I would have to scroll through each thing that's here, and that can become tedious. So going to that review section under to review, going to this reviewed section made it a lot easier to find assignments, particular assignments for students who may have turned something in a little bit late. So these are the things that I used within Google Classroom that helped me keep organized, and it worked out well for those teachers that are on my team to find assignments and activities to help support those students who were at home and not in the classroom. Google Keep is another tool that I've been using to help keep me organized throughout the school year. I will admit I found Google Keep a little bit later in the year, but I've loved using it ever since. It is a very user-friendly tool, and it's basically virtual Post-its. I don't know how else to explain it. It's Post-its on your computer. The nice thing about these is these Post-its are shareable, so you can collaborate with other people on your team. They are also able to be linked to your Google Calendar. So you can set reminders on these and they're linked to your Google Calendar. That makes it super easy. I have not linked anything to my Google Calendar. I've not set reminders on any of my Post-its, but I know that that is an option. It also syncs to your Google Drive. So when you sign on to your TSC account when you get home, your Google Keep document is here, which makes it nice. I like to use those virtual Post-its that just posted on your computer screen. Remember those from a while back? I didn't like it because I couldn't see them when I got home. This synchronizes across all your devices as long as you're using your TSC login. That makes it super nice and very easy to use. I will say that I did make all of these headers myself. And if you are interested, I'm willing to share them with you. If you want them, just send me an email and I will happily send them out to you. They were a lot of fun to make. And if you want them, I'll share them with you. That's fine. So now let's talk about Google Keep and what I use it for. Again, I'm going to say Google Keep is virtual Post-its. I use them just to remind me of things that I need to do every day. Again, this is a tool that helps keep me organized. So I have a morning checklist and I have an afternoon checklist. And both of these checklists are pinned. That means if they're pinned in Google Keep, they just go to the top of your list. So I have these 3 up here, and then I have these 3 down here. Pinned means they're at the top so that you can see them first. What I do in the morning as soon as I get here is I take and record attendance. So I record that attendance in PowerSchool. I grade all of the assignments that have come in from the day before because our virtual kids have until midnight to finish any assignment that they have. So I grade those first thing in the morning, and then I always try to get those grades recorded in PowerSchool before I meet with my first group of kids at 9 o'clock. I'm going to say it does not always happen, but it is a goal. So I don't always get this morning checklist completely finished, but I do try it. It's a top priority for me. And if I don't finish it before I meet with my kids at 9 o'clock for their Google Meet, I will finish it immediately following. I think it's important that families have feedback as soon as they can so that they can see things that they might need to improve on, see things that they might need to work on, or if they have any questions for me about an assignment, they'll ask while it's still fresh. So this was an important one for me. During the morning, I try not to mess with emails. I try not to mess with, any of those things that might take my attention away from these 3 goals. So my morning is just dedicated to attendance and grading assignments and getting those things recorded. Then I have an afternoon checklist. My afternoon checklist includes daily reminders. If I need to send a reminder home on Class Dojo about different things that are coming up, supplies that kids will need to have at home, or dates that are coming up, maybe we need to change the time of a Google Meet, I send those in the afternoon so they are reminders for the next day. I also take time in the afternoon to check my email and respond to any emails that come. And I also take one last look at Dojo before I end the day. Now, I will say Dojo is on my afternoon checklist, but I do try to respond pretty much immediately if I get a Dojo message, unless I'm with a Google Meet group. I don't respond then. But I try to respond to Class Dojo during school hours right away because I know during that time a lot of my families are working on assignments and they may have a question about something. So I want to get that question answered as soon as possible so that they can continue to work on their assignments. Also in the afternoon, I do send home late work notices, or if I'm going through my Google Classroom and I see that assignments aren't finished or are finished but are not turned in, I'll send a reminder home to families to make sure that they turn those things in so that they can be graded. So this is a morning checklist, and these are all the things that I do in the afternoon. I do these every day without fail, and that helps to keep me organized. Otherwise, those things kind of build up, and then you just are in a hole that you can't seem to dig yourself out of. So I keep those two things a top priority with my virtual students, mostly for me to help keep me organized. Then the other thing I have pinned at the top are meeting dates. These are dates that we will meet with our class team, our grade level teams, and we'll go over certain things. So this week, again, I'm recording this on May the 4th. So May 3rd through the 7th, we're working on class lists during our IIB time. On May 6th, we have a math standards meeting. And on May 18th, we have a data meeting to discuss all of our end of the year data. These are important meetings that are coming up, and I don't want to forget them. So I have these pinned at the top. Then other ones that I have that aren't as important, well, they're important, but not like these. We have a planning meeting. I have, or planning, not a meeting, a note about planning, a note about looking ahead. So these are different things that are coming up that I might need to plan for. We have a note about grading. Now you might think, well, you've got grading up here, but grading is also down here. The difference between these two is that this note tells me that I need to look for assignments that are going to be turned in late. Parents have contacted me, and for whatever reason, assignments will be turned in past their due date. This note here reminds me that I need to look at these, go back into my Google Classroom and look at these on whatever date is given here. Okay? And then the last note that I have is my note about ideas. So different ideas that I'm thinking about right now. I'm thinking forward to awards day, and then I'm thinking about how I can do an end of the year celebration with my virtual students. That is definitely going to look a little bit different this year because my kids aren't in the building with me. So these are all the notes I have. You know, yours might look very different than mine if you choose to use Google Keep. The great thing about this is it's customizable to whatever you want it to look like. You can have any kind of post-it on here that you want. Now, I want to go through these different icons down at the bottom with you. The first one is a reminder. And if we click on this one, you can set a reminder for this post-it down here. You can set a reminder for later in the day, tomorrow, next week sometime. I don't set reminders on mine because I do keep my Google Keep screen up so that I can see it. Or sometimes I'll split my screen in half so all my post-its are on one side and then I'm working on the other side. The next thing is a collaborator. So if you click on this, you can just type in someone's email that you want to share that post-it note with, and then they'll be able to work on the same post-it note that you are. This one's kind of fun. If you want to change the color of your post-it note, you just click on a color and it changes the area where you're typing different information. I like to keep mine white since my tops are colored. Here is where you can add an image. So you can click on that and then you can choose an image to add if you want. And then this one is where you can archive your note. The nice thing about Google Keep is unless you delete the note, you can archive it and always come back to archive and find it. So if you find it here, you can always move it back to your notes page. okay? When you move it back to your notes page, it also becomes unpinned. So there's a little pin right here in the corner. If you tap on that, it'll take it right back to the top. Remember, your pinned notes are the ones that you look at the most, the ones that you might think are the most important. Okay? Then you have these 3 dots here, and this gives you some choices. You can delete the note. You can change the label. I'll show you what that is in just a minute. You can add a drawing, make a copy, hide the check boxes. So I have these check boxes here. If I click hide, it takes them away, but for some reason I like to show them. I'm not actually checking anything, but I just like them. Okay, so you can copy to Google Docs and then you can grab an image text. This one I've not worked with, so I can't really say much about that. These notes up here all have labels, and their label is daily. And you can see that I have that label right here. So if I click on that, then all of my notes that have the label daily will come up. If I go back to my notes, I can add a label. So I'll go here to add a label, and I might say this is weekly. And now another label has come up here. And if I click on that, then my weekly label will be right there. Okay, so you can label them and categorize them if you want to. Again, it's just all preference. Before I end today, I want to show you how to make a note. So you're going to click on Take a Note. And then if you want to add one of these headers, then you just click this photo. And I have a Google Keep header. And I'm going to do weekly to do. And I'll open that, and that takes me to this header. And then I can start taking notes. Okay. And then when I close it, it'll be down here with the others. Unless I pin it, then it'll go to the top. Okay. So they're super easy to make, super easy to work with. If you have finished something, let's say I have finished taking notes, then I can just delete it off and close. And then my weekly to-do list header will still be there, and I can always come back and add to it anytime that I want to. So Google Keep is another great program, another great tool that I've used to help keep me organized. I know it looks like a lot, but I do forget a lot of the little things, the little tedious things. You know, I don't want to forget a meeting date. I for sure don't want to forget awards day or checking my emails. So it's more of just a checklist, a reminder for me than it is for anything else. But it does help to have that daily reminder of things that we need to do outside of meeting with all of our kids. Again, Google Keep, another great tool for help keeping organized. All right, the last thing I want to talk to you about is Classroom Dojo. I use Classroom Dojo as my communication tool with families. The reason I love it so much is Classroom Dojo bridges the gap between home and school, especially if there is a language barrier. What's nice about this is you can send a message in English or whatever language you have your Classroom Dojo set on as the teacher, and then families can set their Classroom Dojo to receive those messages in their home language. So, for example, if I'm sending a message out in English, a family can then receive that message and it would be translated into Spanish and vice versa. They can send a message to me written in their home language, and then it translates it back to English for me. It's a super tool for that reason alone, and I'm not always trying to find a translator to help me write a document or write a note or something that I can send home with students or send home on an email or any other kind of communication like that. So for that reason, that's the main reason that I love Class Dojo, is because it does have that option for families. And because of that, it's a great way to build relationships with families, and you can keep that communication open. I want to show you a couple features of Classroom Dojo and why I love it so much, and I know a lot of my colleagues here at Woodland enjoy it as well. The first thing is the messaging. We're just going to start there since that's where we're talking about it. This is just a demo class that I've set up to protect the privacy of the students in my room. And I just kind of want to show you how it works. First of all, you can send messages to all parents at the same time, or you can send messages to individual parents about different things. Now I've sent out some fake messages so that we can kind of see. The first one was to all parents. So I just sent out this message that we will be meeting 10 minutes later tomorrow, and we'll start at 9:10 instead of 9 o'clock. So this message you'll see when I click on the other parents here, we'll see this message, and then there's going to be a message underneath it that was just for that particular parent. What makes this nice is that you can click on a different parent or a different child and see what messages that you've sent home. You'll see the messages for the whole class, and you'll see messages for just them. What's nice is that individual parents won't see messages from any other individual parent. It's their own thread. This, I think, is so much better than trying to go through all of your emails. Guys, we know how many emails we get a day. And to include parent emails in with that, it gets to be a little bit overwhelming. So with Classroom Dojo, it keeps every parent's communication thread separate. So I can see what I've sent out to parents, and I can see what parents have sent to me. Everything is dated. So this was sent out on May 7th. This was sent out on May 7th. Everything is dated. So you can see exactly when that communication was sent out. You can also see if, maybe I forgot to send out a reminder about something. And like I said, you can get the Classroom Dojo app on your phone, and any message that you have sent from school is automatically, it will sync to the app that you have on your phone. So whatever you see at school, you'll also see at home. It's always updated, or on your phone, whatever device you're using. It's always updated no matter what, if you're using your school computer or if you're using a phone or a different computer or laptop outside of school. I want to go to Class Story for just a minute. Class Story is part of Classroom Dojo that I started using when we first were out because of COVID last spring. This was a fun way that I could post different announcements. I was able to put class photos up. I would go out to the farm, read with an animal, and post that video here. And it was just a fun way for kids to see what was going on. It was a fun way for us to see each other. It was a fun way for me to still be able to read to my kids, but they could kind of watch that video on their own time. Class Story is also a place where I post reminders for families. So we have a school picnic coming up. I post a reminder there. What's nice about this is, here, we'll just post an event, and we'll say Awards Day. So I'll put Awards Day here, and then I will, let's see, our Awards Day is Monday, and it's at 9:30 in the morning. So I can change this time. 10:30 a.m. And then I can set up different reminders. I can set a reminder for 5 days before, 1 day before, or 1 hour before. This makes it really nice, especially if you're someone like me who will forget. Okay. Forget to post a reminder. So now in my upcoming events, I have awards day and I also have a school picnic. So as I post different events that are coming up, it will make a short list of those right here. And parents will know that they have this place that they can come to find different things that are coming up in the school year. So the short list is right here. And then if you scroll down, all of those reminders with the full information is here. You can scroll and see them. And then parents can also comment on these reminders. Students can comment on the reminders. You can always go in and edit them, or you can delete them if you want to. That's always an option. And one last thing I want to show you with Classroom Dojo is the toolkit. This is something that I used a few times. Now there are 8 different things in the toolkit that you can use. I just used 2 of them throughout the school year. I used the timer and then I used this random selector. You could also use the toolkits to make groups. There's a noise meter on here. I've never really used it. I know that some people do. You can post different directions for students. You could do a think, pair, share, where you post a question and students discuss it. You could post the weather. And this one's kind of fun. There's 2 different music selections. One is a focus selection. So this music is kind of slower and it allows students to really focus on whatever it is they're doing. And there's one that's an active channel that this music is a lot faster paced, more rapid beat. So I've used that before in my classroom and my kids think it's kind of fun to listen to. But the 2 that I used and I'm going to show you are a timer and the random student selector. First of all, the timer, it has all of these presets for 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, and 10 minutes. I do use this timer selector, especially if I'm working in small reading groups. We're doing some sort of response to literature, and I'll give them, a minute or 2 or 5 minutes in order to write their response to literature so that we can share it. It does help to keep our reading groups on time. I only had a half an hour for each reading group, and when that half an hour was up, the next reading group was already coming into our Google Meet. So it really did help keep the timing of our reading groups good so that we could be finished before the next reading group would come in. I would also use this 15-second or 30-second timer with my whole groups. If we were working on a math problem, I would say, okay, you've got 15 seconds to, figure out this addition problem, or you've got 30 seconds to figure out this subtraction problem with regrouping. So it did help to keep my Google Meets on time. And it also helped to keep my students focused, knowing that they only had so much time to complete a task. The other thing that I used was this random student selector. When you use this, you would pose a question to your class, and then their name would pop up, and this is the person that would have to answer the question. Pose another question to your class, hit it again, and then this is the person that would have to answer the question. What makes it nice to use this is that those students that are eager to answer every single question, they're not always answering, and those ones that are just kind of sit back and watch the day go by, they are being more responsible. having to be more responsible and answer different questions that are posed to them. So I loved using this random student generator because it made everybody focus on what was being asked and really pay attention to what we were doing within our Google Meet. So Classroom Dojo, again, is another excellent tool for communication, but it's also got some good things that you can use with your class, whether you're in person or virtual like me. Again, it's just a tool that I will continue to use because I think it's that good.